Going on? Hello, Miss Honore. How
Hello,
are you?
Mr. Lucas.
Whew, what a day, huh?
Right, already.
Already.
Already. Although it's been, 6 hours. We're 6 hours into our day. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
In Central Time.
Right. Are you 6 hours into your day?
Yeah, I am actually.
All right. Well,
You get up earlier though. You're about an hour earlier. Early riser.
yeah. Yep. Well, I also did not respond to a message I got at 8:45 last night because I was asleep.
Hmm.
Hi, Renee. Hi, Renee. Hi, Renee.
Renee.
So there's that. So there's the early response that I sent to the late message sent because I was not awake at 8:45.
Hmm.
I was OUT out.
Good for you. My children are either a blessing or a curse when it comes to sleep because they've inherited my night owl syndrome somehow.
Oh, yeah.
I'm one of those people that can do whatever. I can go to sleep early, wake up early, go to sleep late, wake up late, anything in between. It doesn't matter. As long
Yeah.
as I just kind of get set, I'm good. But man, I'm worried about my kids when they get older. They're going to struggle. They like to stay up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saturdays in our house is like a 2:00, 2 a.m. They're all kind of starting to shut down.
Well, that's Byron. So Byron takes the night shift. I take the morning shift. But yeah. So anyway, who are you?
I'm some random dude who found a camera sitting in this house that I walked into. My name's Lucas. Hi. Yeah, so I'm a writer and I love to help other nonfiction authors create courses from their books. That's what I'm doing.
Nice. Nice.
Uh-oh. Caesar land.
I don't know who that is.
What is happening? Who are you, LinkedIn user? Identify yourself.
That's right. And while you're identifying yourself, for those who don't know me, I'm Honore Quarter. I am also a writer. I have written and published 63 books, sold 4.6 million books in 40 languages. And in my free time, oh wait, there's no free time. And I help people to write, publish, and monetize their books. And it's Wayne. Hi, Wayne. You know what? The camel. There was no camel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just.
Well, you messed me up with Caesar land,
Yes, but if we
Which
knew our
Caesar are we
history,
talking about?
Caesar salad.
Caesars. No. Are you in Vegas? Are you in Atlantic
Vegas?
Beach?
Because there is right, exactly.
Atlantic City. What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So I know what you're reading right now. You should tell everyone what you're reading.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is kind of a odd response, but it's my own book, which is not something I don't just sit around reading my own book all day, people. Athens. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Not Athens, Georgia, for those that are watching.
Or Ohio, which is where I'm from originally. I'm from Athens, Ohio. And that's the end of that conversation. Back to you, Lucas. What are you reading?
Yeah, so I am reading my recent novel, which I just finished. So I finished the draft on Monday. We got all the final edits back on Tuesday, and then that kicked off the one final all through read for simplifying word removal, looking for all the little things that get through the editing process, making sure all the plot lines and characters and all the things are tied up just right, because it's your last chance before you go, okay, off to proofreading. So I've been heavily involved in all 64,000 words of that novel for the last
That is
3
amazing.
days.
You are a star. You must feel so great about that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now it is a quite the sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, because you did the novella, which was how many thousand? 20,000?
Just under 20,000.
So a fraction, and that felt good to do that.
Yes.
And I'm sure this next book is just going to be very cool. And your covers are great, and your story is scary. So I've heard.
I'm still, guys, you have to help me get Honore to read one of these books. Actually, you'll probably like this one, Honore.
Okay. All right.
It's not
Well,
so scary.
I'm scared of you, Lucas.
No.
Yes.
It's funny you bring
I
that
just
up.
don't like horror. Cujo
Yeah.
ruined me for all time.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you read Cujo, you'll have a different experience than when you watch it. But because you
All
feel
right.
bad for the dog, and Cujo's written in the book at the end, it's like he just wanted to be a good boy, and you're like, oh, sorry, Cujo, I love you. But in the movie, you're like, yo, someone do something about that dog.
All right. Well,
you
I'm
know.
sure Jeffrey Dahmer wanted to be a good boy too, but he did very scary things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an experience.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that I won't get on a diatribe about this, but just like to kind of put a little like button on that whole genre relevance kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have had to be careful that I don't deceive people with my covers, because the covers can be kind of, spooky looking,
Yeah.
little scary looking for people that don't read horror. And I've spent a lot of time explaining to people, hey, this is more like psychological thriller, suspense, light horror. There's no body horror. There's no gore. And they're like, oh. And then they read it and they're like, dude, you crushed me. And I'm like, that's what I was trying to do. Is get you to feel the book rather than worry about like, there's like no blood and gore and all that stuff.
All right. Well, I trust you. I believe you.
I don't know if you trust me that much. You haven't read the book yet. We got to get you. We got to get you there. I'll tell you what. I'll trade you my horror book for your rom-com when it comes out.
My rom-com is going to make you feel so happy, and my espionage thriller is going to just keep you on the edge of your seat, and
That's
you're
right.
not ever one time going to feel like you're in danger or someone's going to come and get you in the night. Just saying.
Just saying.
It's all the good positive vibes.
All the vibes.
A little bit of revenge in the espionage thriller, because
gotta have it.
Can't live without that. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So what have you been reading?
I've been reading. I'm going to show because I'm not quite done with it, and I love it. But there's the front of this book. But hold on, look how big this book is.
I know you warned me, but I didn't think it was that.
It is 1,000 pages, 1,024.
Is that a 6x9?
I think so.
Wow, that's substantial.
I think so. The good news is that the chapters are pretty short. And as of today, I am on page 312. I've just been reading it for 10 minutes every day for, let's see, when did I start it? 12:26. So nice. This morning I had an article I had to write for someone. That cut into my reading time, but I'm not bitter. So I only read like 4 pages this morning. But I read 4 pages. So
yes, you did.
Yes. So on top of all the other things on my pile, but when I got to, I had, it just was like, I just need to read a chapter, and this chapter was 4 pages. If it had been half a page, that would have been fine also. I won't get back to it. Till tomorrow, but I've been just loving reading the lessons every day. So that's what I'm reading on the nonfiction side. I'm also reading 2 other nonfiction books. And so let's see what these are. So I'm reading my favorite book on negotiation again, Getting More by Stuart Diamond. A lot of people talk about Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I've read that. This one is better, in my opinion.
Nice.
And also, I am reading The 10 Pillars of Mental Performance Mastery, but I can't see who the author is.
Let you look that up.
But it's good. And the next book behind the 10 Pillars book is 1% Better. I got those books out of Arete.
So what's the premise of Arete?
what is the premise of Arete? The subtitle is to activate your heroic potential. And he talks about, and I obviously haven't read about all of them, he talks about the different aspects of being successful. So you have to have wisdom, discipline, love, courage, gratitude, hope, curiosity, and zest. And zest is code for energy. So you've got to have your energy in the right place in order to do anything. We were talking about earlier in our previous conversation, which will be a MasterCast on a podcast platform near you, that if you don't have the energy to do anything, you're not going to do anything. So you have to kind of get your physical and mental game dialed in, wired up, dialed in, connected.
Sounds good.
English. And then you'll have the energy to do all the other things. So in this book, he talks a lot about other books, which is both wonderful and also like,
Stop giving me recommendations, dude.
Stop it, Ryan.
It's my book. It's like every time you walk into Barnes and Noble, you're like, I'm just going in to get a cup of coffee and sit down for a minute.
Liar.
Not going to buy all the books.
Liar.
Not going to do it. Going to read Arete and not buy all the books.
Liar, 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 liar. Oh, Jen's on a deadline. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Jen.
Oh, there she is.
I know what her deadline is.
Are you responsible for?
I'm responsible for the deadline.
Jen, I would like to apologize on your behalf.
Yes, thank you. You're welcome. I'm sorry. Peace be with you.
By the way, if you guys are looking for a fantastic proofreader and all around great human, Jen Pisano.
Yep.
Do that.
Yep.
There you go, Jen.
We can put a link to her
let me find
website in the comments. I'm going to make a note, Lucas, for us.
I'm going to try and find that right now, actually.
Yeah.
If I can learn how to spell editing, we'll be good.
Yeah, well, that's why you need an editor. Yeah. So on the fiction side, the 10 Disciplines book is actually a allegorical tale. And so it's kind of fiction-y. But then on the straight up fiction side, I'm reading a James Patterson, For Blind Mice.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I like the snappy chapters, which could be serial-like, right? He could have kind of serialized that. So that's one of the things on my list to write. So I picked that up with that in mind. And I have so many books to read.
Yeah. Yeah, the TBR.
So many. My TBR pile, like I have a bookshelf over there, and that's all there. I've got a closet with bookshelves in it, books on that, books on my bedside table, books in my Kindle that I see. Do you ever get into your Kindle app or into your Kindle and you start to see all the books that you've got and then to read and then haven't gotten to them? Yeah. It's a little scary. And then, of course, there's the book that I'll probably buy later that I don't even know about yet. Like, where has this book been all my life? And then yesterday I was having a conversation with a client, and the book we're doing, we were talking about Mike Michalowicz, who wrote Profit First and The Pumpkin Plan and all these fantastic books. And then I see all the other books that he wrote, and I love his stuff, and he has a new one coming out. I'm like, okay, just make it stop. Can we just put pause? Can we push pause on time progressing for 30 days? Just give me 30 days of uninterrupted reading. I can feel like I make a dent, and then I can go back to my regularly scheduled program. And life just doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
No, not when you're stacking all your own chips, to get things done.
Yeah.
And you're actually doing it.
Right.
I think that's a big thing. It's like, it's not just wishful thinking. You're actually moving the needle with your business. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I would like to add one more potential source of TBR to your stack because
why not?
Why not? I have recently gotten myself in trouble on NetGalley.
Yeah. NetGalley's another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's just so many great books coming out right now, like
Yeah.
over the next 4 months, and when you
Yeah.
get to know other authors. So this is a blessing and a curse for those that do
For
this stuff,
readers.
and you
Yeah.
end up writing the book and you meet other people.
Right.
Then the publishers start pushing the
They do.
pre-orders and the ARCs out.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
Are you on
fi-
something on that? Are you reading a book that's coming out on that?
4 books.
Okay. All right.
And now what I've done is I've stacked them by their own publication dates. I'm like, okay,
Oh, fair.
I've got to get the first ones out the gate, because I want to give the authors, not only do I want to take advantage of reading a great story, but I want to support these people I've met,
That's
and I
right.
want to give them a great review at their launch and make all the
Yeah.
great things happen. So
Yeah. I
NetGalley.
forgot the book I'm listening to.
Oh my gosh. Are you listening to a book too?
I'm also listening to Barbara Streisand's autobiography.
Does she sing it? Sorry.
You are so funny.
I know.
It is called My Name is Barbara. It is like 42 hours long. She has started at the very beginning of her life.
Okay.
And
did you say 42 hours?
I'm sorry?
Did you say 42 hours?
Yes, sir, I did.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is not a primary audiobook. I just finished 3 Feet from Gold by Sharon Lecter and Greg Reed. I have Atomic Habits in the queue for nonfiction. And then I do my French learning with books on Audible. But My Name is Barbara. I like autobiographies. My 2 of my favorite are Will by Will Smith and Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, because they narrated it and there were some other things. What Barbara has done is she's playing clips. So I think I know what she sounds like, except she's playing clips of songs of her singing the songs back when she was young.
Oh.
Which is really interesting. So it's not often. Like there have only been a few. I'm maybe like 2 hours in to the audiobook so far. So I have 40 hours and 59 minutes left on it.
My God.
So it could take me all year because it's not a priority read. I'm not a super Streisand fan or anything like that. But I'm finding the story fascinating. And so I'm getting it in little drips since I'm not going anywhere right now. I generally listen to it when I'm on like a field trip. So field trips are what I call going to meetings. If we live in the country, I'll have like a good it's 30 minutes wherever I go. It's either the shortest distance that I go to anything is 20 minutes. So I always have 20 minutes each way. Most of the time 30 to 40. And so that's when I listen. If I don't have anything else to do, if I don't have anything else to listen to, I will put that in and listen to it just a little fast. Most nonfiction, I listen like 1.5, 1.7, 2.0.
Oh, wow.
Barbara, I'm doing 1.2.
I'm a 1.2 to 1.4.
Okay. It depends on the content. Also, I reread a lot of books. So if I've heard the content before and I want a refresher, yeah. Also, I'm never going to get through it if I do it at 1.0. Can you imagine like 44 hours at 1.0?
It's 44 hours.
44 hours. So I feel like I'm shaving off a little, not making her too Mickey Mousey and getting through it. So anyway, that's what those are all the things that I am currently consuming. Kind of put the kibosh on podcasts for right now because I have so many audiobooks. And every month the Audible's like, and you have 17 credits. No, I've wanted to buy those down because they don't let you keep them indefinitely anymore. So I'm
not running into that issue.
No.
Like every month I'm like, ooh, I got a credit, and like go grab a book. I'll read this eventually. It's just like I'm stacking.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm trying to consume at least a fraction of what I buy as opposed to nothing measurable. So anyway, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about workbooks, which I mean, until you and I got to know each other and I really got to learn about your approach to workbooks, and I got to see the way you structure the, the three-legged stool we've talked about before
Yeah.
of books, workbooks, and courses. I mean, stepping back and seeing it all together, I was like, wow, this is super powerful as an author
Yeah.
to even if, this is coming from the course guy. If you don't do a course, you should still definitely do a workbook for your nonfiction
Yeah.
book, right? So if you
Yeah.
publish a nonfiction book and it's teaching someone how to do something or helping someone in a process where there's some thinking involved and there's some capturing involved, the
Yep.
workbooks are fantastic. And you have done several workbooks. So who better to talk about it than the author of I Must Write My Book or
Yeah.
I Must Market My Book. Like, these are not just like things that sit on my desk and collect dust. These are actionable workbooks that I've filled out and I use for my publications. And
Thank you.
it's
Thank you
wonderful.
very much. My shoe collection appreciates you.
But, having not published a workbook outside of digital workbooks, I have digital workbooks in my courses embedded in the course.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn from someone like you that's done this several times. And one, the job of the workbook, and then two, what does it look like when it's working for you, as an author? So.
Yes. Well, it gets people who read your books into action. So sometimes I will find that an author will say, hey, you should do this thing. And that's how I started. When I did Prosperity for Writers, some of the first readers said, I wish I had a place to do these exercises. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'll do the Prosperous Writers companion journal, right? So I did the journal. People really appreciated that. They appreciated the place to do the activity. So sometimes I will hear a little pushback on creating an additional product because someone will say, well, I feel like then I'm being pushed to buy something new. And I actually got a review for You Must Market Your Book that was pretty snarky. And it was like, oh, all she does is talk about nothing. And then she tries to sell me the workbook. And I thought, that's interesting because all I do in both of them is help you to think about marketing and then put your marketing into action. And there's Kiana. Hi, Kiana. She's on my calendar for later today. I get to chat with her. I'm so excited. Yes.
Look at you light up at Kiana's name.
I know.
We love her. If you guys don't know who Kiana is yet, go follow her on socials.
You will. She's going to run the universe. She's going to be master of the universe someday. So I'm just getting in early. I'm just like, I'm just like, I'd like to apply for backup singer, please. Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, it was just very funny because my whole process, everything that I do is meant to help people to avoid pain and gain pleasure and to get out of their own way and to provide a place to do it. So I thought it was very funny that the reviewer was like, and this is the first book I've ever returned ever. And then what's funny is that I went and looked at the person's other books that they had reviewed, and not a one of them was praising at all. Like, I wouldn't want to be in that person's head in general because it seems like they're just hypercritical about everything. So that's not a very fun place to be, in my opinion. Nevertheless, so the Prosperous Writer Productivity Journal was the very first one that I did. I love emojis. Thank you for the emojis. Very excited. Was the first one I did. And then the same thing happened again. You would think I would learn my lesson, but sometimes I'm a slow learner. So when I published You Must Write a Book, immediately someone wrote me, within a week, and said, I need a workbook. I need some place to do all of these things that you are, it's all good advice, but where do I do it? All right. So a few months later, I Must Write My Book was born. And so now, if it makes sense, I'm not doing it gratuitously, of course, that doesn't make sense. But if the content of your book is meant to help people to avoid pain or gain pleasure or both, and you're providing a process for them and you're giving them directives, then creating a workbook, a journal, a companion guide, a companion plan, or something for them is very helpful. It's actually not, it's good for the author because you create another revenue stream. It's good for building your empire, but it's also fantastic for the person who is going, I wish I had some place to write this down. I wish I had a place to correlate what I just learned with what I'm going to do to put this into practice. Because ultimately, I think it's Tony Robbins who says, 98% of books are never read past the first chapter.
Wow.
And then if you do read the book, I don't know about you, but I'm just throwing myself right under the bus here. Say, a lot of times I'll read a book and it's fantastic. And I go, I need to come back to that. Never. I don't come back to it. So now when I'm reading, I'm actually studying, which is why I'm reading this book a couple of chapters at a time and I'm taking notes. I'm simultaneously, there's no RTA workbook yet. Brian, call me, talk about it. But I'm actually taking the lesson of the day and writing it down, going, okay, what is the thing I need to put into practice today? What's the reminder I need to give myself? And when is the moment that I need to remember to think about this? Those types of things. So I'm a big fan. I have examples too, other than the ones that you shared, of just other companion products, workbooks, etc., that people can do with their books.
Well, I love that you brought up the point of action, because so many nonfiction books are trying to teach someone how to do something new or how to think about something.
Yeah.
And then, not only do you have the knowledge now, but, coming from a hardcore training background and being a guy that develops courses, we're trying to take that education, that knowledge, and move it into application. And the workbook gives you application. It gives you somewhere to do something, like you were saying, outside of just learning and gaining knowledge. But it also allows you to address nuance, right? Because like you were saying, you can say, well, my project is this, my book title is this, and I'm going to be doing this with this topic. And you can kind of hash out your thinking on paper. There's something about seeing it, and there's something about writing it.
That's right.
That gets wheels moving or whatever. You and I have had a ton of conversations where I'm jokingly saying, I got stuck on this part of this book. Yeah, go take a shower. And for some reason, when I get in the shower, my brain's just like, oh, I've got all the solutions.
Yes. Yes.
There's something about having the ability to step away from the work and go somewhere to debate it, think about it, hash it out. The workbook gives you that place to do it and kind of document all that. It's so powerful.
Yes. Yes.
So good.
Yes.
So good. So
that's why shower notes are a thing too.
Oh my gosh, that got me through my doctorate. I'm telling you. Then Maddie found them, and she was probably 4 years old. And next thing I know, I got shower notes everywhere. Love you, Dada, hearts and little things. And now I'm like, do I have to keep these shower notes? That's kind of weird. I'm like,
you want to save everything when they're kids. And then eventually you go, I'm going to save like the outfit I brought them home in, their birth certificate, maybe some booties. There we go. So Kat, hi.
Hello, Kat.
What's this? Love it. This is the thing. This is the thing that I love the most. Because the thing I love the most is when people take what I share through my books and my writings and take action on it. The thing that bums me out is when someone said, yeah, I read You Must Write a Book 5 years ago and I still haven't written my book yet. So very excited when someone takes action and gets their book out.
And to give someone an example, just so they understand what we're talking about, what's in the workbooks, like you have like your process for You Must Write a Book, and all the things you talk about people doing in sequence, and all the different considerations for writing the book. This workbook is what guided me through the publication process of my first nonfiction book, how to choose the publication schedule. What does that schedule look like? What are all the obligations? Your strategies, your pricing. There's information in here. I just needed a place to kind of list it all out and do it. You even have an action plan example, right? Look at that. The whole page, just an example of a plan.
Yeah.
So that before people get into doing their own plan, they can see an example of one. Just think about how powerful. Oh, here we go. Here's the magic.
There's magic. Okay.
Creating my action plan. Very first thing, choosing my timeline.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I was talking timeline with a guy yesterday, and he was like, what's a good timeline? And I said, I like a year with a first time author or a second time author. I like a year because it allows you to have the time to step away, to think about it, to come back to it, to schedule your team. Spoiler alert, anybody who's good is not available to work on your book
Right. Like right away.
right away. And when I was talking to this particular prospective author, as a perhaps getting to work with him on producing his book, he said, "What are the next steps?" And I said, "We engage, we handle the details of engagement, and then the very next thing I do is come up with your publication and production schedule. That's the very next thing, and we agree to it. And then the very next thing is I book the team." So I'm sending emails to each one of the team members and saying, this is when the manuscript is coming. This is how long you have with it. Do these dates work on your calendar? But they're so far in advance, they're not booked. So if we start February 1st, I don't even send a manuscript to an editor until the beginning of September. So that's a really long time from now.
Yeah.
And it would be August, except August is when I'm on vacation.
Right.
So if I can get it over before I go on vacation, great. But otherwise, and that would be negotiated later, I could say these are the 2 dates, right? And we can talk through it. But it's the first week of September, and then they have 3 weeks. So the manuscript is done, off it goes, and then it comes back, and you have a period of time where you're going through the edits, accepting, rejecting, rewriting, changing. And then you've got the proofreader coming in second week of October. Who's busy the second week of October?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, most professionals are going to say I'm booked out 2-3 months in advance, but they're certainly not booked out that far in advance. Now, you can find people, and you can also find good people on short notice. I'm not saying that that's impossible. However, usually those are the folks you have a relationship with who will make you a priority. As someone who's probably writing, among their first 5 books, you probably don't have relationships with people, and they're going to say, I'm booked out. So you want to get on my calendar early. I'm also treated really well by my team because they know when things are coming. Like, okay, you're the designer, and you're going to be designing this book between October 15th and November 15th. So I'm going to pay you. You're going to expect it. It's going to be on your calendar. And so I've got that all the way out, ready to go. Also, not the least of which, the best part about this is, as the author, that train is coming.
Oh, yeah.
That train is coming. Your team is going to request a 50% deposit for their time. And you have an amount of time to write it. And with proper planning, you can have proper execution. So all of those things just work together for the betterment of your good. So we got off the topic of workbooks a little bit, got into a little bit of production, but hopefully by sharing that, when you're sharing your process, you're providing the right amount of space for the people who are reading your book to do what it is that they need to do. So if you're asking them a question, how many lines do they need in order to think through the answer to that question?
Right.
If you're short on pages, you need a certain number of pages to have writing on the spine. You'll want to throw in some journaling pages or some journaling prompts. You're also going to want to have resources. There are things in I Must Write My Book that are not in You Must Write a Book because they didn't make sense. But in the production process, in the writing, publishing, and getting ready to market and monetize the book, there are things for people to consider.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know who's done a pretty good job of that as well as Jay Thorne and Zach Bohannon published that book, 3-Story Method, for if you're into fiction. And I bought this because I wanted to I have their book, but I wanted a place where I could maybe just say, all right, if I bought one of these per novel, just did a workbook for every book I was writing, got to have all this space to do each scene's conflict and choice and consequence and who, what, when, where, and why. And it's by scene, what the day of the week is, whose POV is it, What's the location in the story and the time? So you kind of all that information on one page. To your point, that's a whole page of the workbook, and it's, but it's structured. People think you just have these blank lines. There's actually, there's a reason for that organization.
Yeah.
It's
and
not
it's
just
really
a bunch of
helpful.
lines.
It's so helpful from a practitioner perspective when I can not have to figure out where things go. Because the way that I figure things out are to go through something step by step. Like I recommend Evernote to everyone, and the book Master Evernote by S.J. Scott, who was my co-author for The Miracle Morning for Writers. I recommend that to a lot of people. And it would be so great if there was a Master Evernote workbook, because then I could master Evernote better. So there was Helen. Hello.
Hello, Helen.
Helen.
She's
Hi, Helen. We miss you.
Yeah, we miss Helen.
We miss Helen.
She's killing it. She's rocking it in the UK. If you guys are looking for an awesome business coach, she is it.
That's right.
She has some really interesting, she has some really cool offers. So if you guys are looking for something a little out of the box with a person that's like just exudes 100% personality, that's her. So speaking of personality, Helen. Hello. That's good stuff.
Yes.
We miss you, Helen.
Yes.
So okay, I have a question for you, because I'm actually in the process of writing a workbook that goes with the Monetize Your Book with a Course line. This year, my nonfiction plans involve 1 book, possibly 2 workbooks, right? So I'm aligning the workbook to a particular book, and I would love for that to carry all the things. But as someone who's never published a workbook, particularly through something like Amazon's KDP or whatever, are there differences in the guidelines of like what can I do and what can I not do with a workbook that's different from a traditional prose based book?
Yeah, so there's a few things that come to mind, and so I'll try to remember all of them. New to the process. So I published this hardcover, and so I've got hardcover of this, and paperback. I was unable to publish it on Ingram this time because it says there are too many blank lines, too many pages without words. So they definitely are asking now, is this a workbook? Is this a journal? They don't like that people are printing books without content, and they're differentiating between, is this a notebook or a workbook or a journal, or is this a book with content in it? So for the first time, I was unable to publish everywhere. I was monogamous to Amazon. So that's the first thing, is you're going to want to make sure, if you care, that there are enough pages and there's enough content on the pages. I didn't care. I wasn't going, oh no, my life is over if I can't get this into Ingram distribution. Totally fine. Some people may want that, however. Interesting to note that workbooks are generally 8.5 by 11. So the Prosperous Writer Productivity Journal that I mentioned earlier, I made it the same size as the book, which is, I think, 5 by 8. It made it really hard for people to write on the pages. What was I thinking?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So there's no way to like lay it flat. If you have a full-size book, people can open it up and they can write in it like they can crack the spine a little bit and that kind of thing. So that's something to consider. I also learned with that same book and journal that when I only published it as a physical book, because I thought, why would anyone want the ebook version? Spoiler alert, they probably don't. Semicolon. However, there are a couple of things that you can do and something to consider. Amazon, from a book perspective, markets ebook companions to ebook readers and physical companions to physical book readers. Those people who bought Prosperity for Writers ebook never found out about the journal because there was no cross-marketing opportunity. I didn't have it done as an EPUB. And you think, well, how can you do something that you write in as an EPUB? There are a couple of ways. You can do a static EPUB where the pages are set, or you can do a different setting. That's a designer issue. So that's why I'm not saying the correct term, because I'm doing it from my civilian understanding.
God bless Dino.
Yes. However, the books that I have done where I did a physical companion but did an ebook version and just said, hey, if you want this to print so that it prints beautifully, here's a link to download the PDF with my compliments. So you buy the ebook for less, and here you can print this on your own. So you can take it to a printer, or you can print it on your computer. So many times, hundreds of times, people have emailed me and said, thank you for doing that. Thank you for making it so that I could buy it for a really cheap price, a couple of bucks, and then go print it on my own paper. I didn't want to order another workbook. I wanted to just print the pages that I wanted, or I wanted to print the whole thing and bind it. I wanted to put it in a binder as opposed to into a workbook, something like that. And so I see that question. I'll come back to it. So what I noticed was that someone would buy the ebook version of something, and because the ebook version was marketed to them, they would buy the physical companion.
Gotcha.
So that was the end run around that. So the workbook I publish at the high end of $19.99, something like that, $29.99. So something that's more expensive is this. So this is the Miracle Morning for College Students Companion Planner. This kit is thick. This is what college students need to effectively have their year. It's all their classes. I mean, there is so much content in here. And then in the back, the gal who did this is just brilliant. Natalie Johnji.
She was the interior designer? Or?
No, she was the co-author.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So she even put like time zones and maps, and like there's all kinds of stuff that you can put in there, capitals and time zones, book recommendations, math conversion charts, just things that you might need to know. So references, right? And in the graphic on the inside, this is all Dino, right? Is the cap. But it was also weekly reflection, monthly reflection, quarterly reflection, semester reflection, things like that. So you can really create something that is fantastic for the user. And then we priced this one at $19.97, and then the ebook was $9.97, allowing people to print it. But this page count, I was looking for the page count on it. How many pages are there? All of them.
Well, you saw the
page count on it, but I want to say it's north of 300 pages.
Okay. And you still want to break the 100-page rule, right? If you can.
Yes. You want to make sure that you have 100 pages front and back. So 50 physical pages, because you need 100 pages to get words on the spine. So in order for me to get words on the spine, I had to break 100 pages. And so even though there's a lot of content in here, I have habit trackers, and the I Am a Writer notebook was really fun. It's for all aspiring writers. I mean, there's a lot of content in here. They still said there's too many pages without a lot of words, because there's doing a word tracker. So no soup for you. I don't really know the answer to Helen's question. Could you have included more information in your workbook to get it Ingram? Is there a percentage? I don't know the answer to that.
This is Jim Bob Howard.
That was Jim Bob. Hi, Jim Bob. I thought that was Helen. Sorry. Eyes.
We got a lot going on.
Yes. So there is a percentage. I just am not sure what it is, because I thought there was certainly enough content. The word count for the notebook was around 15,000. So I publish books with 15,000 words several times a year, monthly at this point. And that should have been enough. But for some reason, those dimensions, they did not allow it. But having it on Amazon and Amazon's distribution was perfectly fine. And again, I was able to do it in hardcover and softcover. What I was going to say about this great size of 8.5 by 11 is this is the cheapest you're ever going to print a book. So even though this is 300 pages, because they're not cutting the pages down, you're just printing on paper that comes on the rolls and things like that. They're not having to do that much more work to customize the size. You're going to pay less for that than anything. So it gives you not only a product you can charge more for, but it's something you're going to pay less to produce. So it's a really good opportunity.
Yeah. And Jim, I was going to try and look up that information for you to give you guys an answer. Just want to give you, I mean, Ingram Spark does a really good job of listing out their requirements. But what they won't tell you, what almost none of these people tell you is necessarily whether they're scanning for certain things to make determinations when they're not hard requirements. All right, let's get another question in here.
Yeah. Do you format your workbooks so they could be drilled and put in a binder? So that's where the having the PDF option. So if someone buys the ebook version of, and I did not do an ebook version of this. I just didn't. My designer was already doing too many projects for me, and this was just for me. So I just said, just make it a print ready PDF. But the books that I do, there has to be enough gutter anyway, Jim. So Jim Bob, when you are doing a book like this, there has to be enough of a gutter that you can drill it and put it in a binder. So you would have enough bleed in the document to do that anyway. And alternatively, if you can't get to 100 pages, so there was a book, the best-selling book formula. I just did a companion. I forget what it was called. Do I have
for which book?
For the best-selling book formula, I did just something that was designed so it was on brand, but it's part of the book bonuses. So if someone joins the book bonuses for that, they just get it and they can print it on their own.
We need to do a whole episode on book bonuses sometime.
Okay.
What a wonderful list builder.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. When I go in and look at my new subscribers, probably 10 a day, just from sometimes 2, sometimes 10, sometimes more, on people that are just going in and signing up because they wanted to get the bonuses. So I'll make a note on our list of things to talk about.
Yeah, I'm big on that because I was following your lead when I was writing Monetize Your Book with a Course. One of the things I loved was that you said, "Hey, go to my website for these downloads." And I see all these other nonfiction authors do it, but I wasn't giving the same type of content away as like a book bonus. It needed to be related to course development. So I created a course basically in Thinkific where they could just go in there and it was all my recommendations, guidelines, little stuff. And so anytime someone signs up for that, I know exactly where they're coming from.
That's right. They're coming
which is different than just giving a link to like sign up for my newsletter. I don't know if they're coming through the book or through my website or socials or what. Anytime someone specifically signs up for that book resource, I know it's coming for the book. So a little bit of a qualifier there.
And it starts that author-reader relationship, which is so important, right? Because a lot of times you're building your brand and helping people to get to know you through your book. And it allows them to, start to get emails from you every day or every week or every month, whatever. And that builds trust. That builds the know, like, trust factor through continuous connection. And
and it's a clear indication that this person's, interested beyond the book, right? They're interested in learning more, or learning a little differently, and accessing more of your information. So that's, it's just a great thing to have as a person that's creating that type of content. I didn't put one together for course pricing strategies because I put the books in a series and recommended everyone read the first book. Like, go read that one before you worry about pricing. But retroactively, I should have done that in course pricing strategies. I should have pointed them to the book resources. So giving you guys a little lesson learned here, because there are going to be people that read course pricing strategies that didn't read Monetize Your Book with a Course. And at the time that I was writing the book, I banked on it because it was a series being like a sequence.
Yeah. Interestingly, some people do only some of what you suggest.
Right.
Right. And so creating a full picture, well, it's like why I put in you must market your book. I started that book by saying, look, let's make sure you have a quality book, because you can market the heck out of something,
Yep.
but if it's terrible, it's not going to move. If your book
Yep.
doesn't have a great cover, if you don't have really good editing and proofreading, if you don't have great design, if it's not optimized and monetized, you can't put lipstick on a pig and say, oh, this is a derby winning horse. It just doesn't work like that. And so many people want to just get their information off of Google search and not dig into what the real good information is when publishing their book. And they forget that it's like going to a business meeting with your ideal client in whatever you rolled out of bed in.
Right.
Right. So it's like, if you want someone to pay you, then you show up for that, what's essentially an interview and a relationship building conversation in your Sunday best. Right. And I probably just dated myself. Do we use that phrase anymore? Is there a Sunday best anymore? But I hear people go, oh, you look so nice. I just didn't feel like, getting ready or any of those things. And I just think you do judge a book by its cover, and you do judge someone by how they show up. And if you don't show up, if your book doesn't show up, then you're going to miss that opportunity. And there's someone I know here in Nashville who sent out an email that they're publishing a book. And I went and looked at it. And right away I went, oh, I wish they'd called me. I wish they would have just spent a little bit of money and taken my course, because they would have avoided the basic mistakes. And so this is someone who wants to be on big stages and to charge a lot of money for clients. And yet the text on the back cover is in full Justified. Right. And yet there's a typo. And I went, oh, this is heartbreaking. So my only response was, hey, congratulations on your book. That's wonderful. But I know in my heart that there are going to be a lot of missed opportunities, because someone is going to assume that how you did this is how you do everything. And that is not to say that there are not mistakes in my books and I haven't made errors and all those. I've done all those things, which is why I'm a preacher. I'm a preacher for quality production.
There you go.
So when you do your workbook, put as much care and concern into your workbook as you do into your book, even if it takes you longer, right? Even if you go, well, gosh, that's another 15,000 words that I have to pay 2 or 3 cents a word to have proofread. And then I'm going to have to take the time to go through it very, intensely and make sure that it doesn't have mistakes and errors.
You just brought something up, and I want to acknowledge Tony's accomplishment before I bring that up.
Yay.
Yeah, what's up, Tony?
Tony, we miss you. We want you with us.
I love this.
25 and 25, but this is the 3-legged stool we were talking about.
Yeah, good job, dude.
Yeah.
Good job.
When is it? When are all the kids coming to the market?
Yeah. Drop your dates and links in the chat so people can find them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So word count, not necessarily through the same lens that Jim Bob was asking about, where he was asking about, was there a percentage of text to blank lines? That's like a ratio, right?
Yeah.
Outside of that kind of like formal screening process questioning, when you went to put your workbooks together, do you have targets besides page count? Do you have targets for anything like that? I mean,
no, I don't even really have word count targets for books. I think you've probably heard me say way too many times. Tell them what you need to tell them in the number of words you need to tell them, not one more, not one less. Without when I'm working with an author, without giving them a target or determining, where we're going, it's hard to just go, we're just going to write the book. So I know what the word count is going to be for a small pocket book versus a full-size book.
Right.
15,000 versus 50 to 70. Right. And sometimes 30, sometimes 35. You Must Write a Book is 37,000. So yeah, I don't put extra content in to make a book fatter.
Right.
I put in what I feel like the book needs to have in the book. So the same goes with the workbook. And so I can talk just for a minute, because we're almost at time, on how to actually get started with creating.
Yeah, please.
A companion. I take the final proofread manuscript of the book. I save as, I do a new title, and it's version 1. So I'm starting back at scratch. And so You Must Monetize Your Book is I Must Monetize My Book workbook. So the final version of the book as it goes to formatting is when I do the workbook. So I wait till it's gone all the way through production and it's off at formatting. So Dino has it. So it's his problem now. Now it's on you. I've done all of that, right? I still have a lot to do with that book when it comes back formatted. There's still a lot to be done. But in the interim, in those few weeks when he's formatting, I've got a new Word document and I'm going through and I'm saying, when did I tell them to do something? When did I ask them a question? What am I suggesting they do? And how many lines does that need? How much space does that need? And what do I need to put in here that didn't go in the book that really needs to round out this process? So I'm in that headachy part of I must monetize my book right now, because I realize that in the book, I'm giving this overview. But if someone's really going to map out an income stream, if you're really going to become a coach or you're really going to do a coaching program, there's a whole lot of things to consider. And so that companion will not publish in line with the book unless I push the publication of the book, which I may do.
Right.
Because, my boss is very bossy and she may say I have to push it. Anyway, so that's that. I'm working through it and I don't want to rush it. And I don't want to wish that I had taken a little more time and been more thoughtful with it. So I start with a new document with go in and put in, I do all the technical things, the title, the subtitle, the copyright page, the ISBNs. I go kind of set the document up for success. And then I go with the table of contents. So if someone is holding up, I must market my book with you must write a book. They go, okay, well, in chapter 1, she talks about, do I have a quality book? Did I check all those boxes? And so chapter 1 of I must market my book, I think I'm right about this, you can look, is, doing a double check on the quality of your book, because you don't want to go, well, now I need the book, the workbook, and the course, and I'm just going to rush through it. There's some quality control checkpoints on the book. And if the book isn't meeting that quality, and did I get it right? Do I remember?
You did. Analyze your book.
That was like 12 books ago. So good for me.
Brain is still calibrated.
Brain is still working. That's great. Analyze your book to make sure that your book is in a good place. And if not, then just wait a minute. You're always going to be embarrassed by not taking the time that it takes. And you're always going to be glad that you did, if you did. So that's where I start. That's where I start, is I just go through it. I book my team here. This is when it's coming, because I'm writing enough extra content that we want to make sure that it's at least proofread. Right. And then I put directions to the designer in it.
Gotcha.
What's a potential title for your book? Well, put in 15 lines, right? So note to designer, add in 15 lines here so that I don't have to create this big document. But sometimes I create the formatting where I'll go ahead and format it one time, and then I'll do 6 or 7 things underneath it. And it's like cut and paste, so he can create it from there.
So you're not just creating lines on a page in your Word document. You're asking Dino, the designer in this case, to put a certain number of lines on the page.
Yeah. Or I'll say finish the rest of the page with lines, or do 5 pages of lines, do 5 pages of journal pages, right? Something like that, something that's very clear. And then I've, of course, have to go back to that when the document comes formatted. I've got to go in and make sure, like, okay, now that this is what I think it was, does it make sense? So when I did the word count tracker in this notebook, it was a little different from the habit tracker. that I did because I wanted people to lay it out. So we had to make sure that this page faced this way and this page faced this way. And which month is it? So there are lots of things to think through when you're doing a workbook. We might want to just do this again another time. But, you know, I did my writing goals for the foreseeable future. And so this is just a page of lines, and this is a page of lines. And what I direct them to do, what I direct the folks to do that are doing this is to set writing goals, but then to be very clear about them. Not just, I want to write 3 books this year, but it's like, I write 3 books, they're 50,000 words. This is how many words I need to write a day. Like getting really clear on that vision, which is why there are 3 pages.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thinking it through from an end user perspective is what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah, we should probably do another episode so we can talk about, I mean, because I use a similar process for creating the workbooks that go with courses. It's, you know, it's a very similar process. But yeah, getting down into some of that nuance really helps people out. We really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I mean, there's a ton of little nuggets in there. I think, you know, if you guys are watching this and you're familiar with the language and all the things, that's great. If you're not, Honore, do you teach this stuff?
I actually have not really done a deep dive into creating
not workbooks in particular.
Right. In Publishing PhD, I talk about it, and also in book Building $1 Million Book Business. There is a whole section on creating companion products. So yes, there are courses that I have that kind of dive into all the aspects of everything that we talk about in a deeper and more meaningful way for the person who's walking through that process, as opposed to out of context and off the cuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I think if you guys sit through the Publishing PhD course and really digest it and get into it, so much of this will become clear for you, because it's all hinging off the foundation of a book. And without that foundation set, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around what to do with the workbook, because it is essentially, well, not essentially, it is another book. It is not, it is not a lesser product. It is a companion product, and it is another book. You're going through the publication process. You're going through all the things that Honore just described. So if you're wondering what we're talking about with the publication, the proofing, all the things, then Publishing PhD is a great course to give you the foundation for publishing a book. So writing and publishing.
And it is currently just at $1,000.
Is it $997,
$997? Yes. And that $1,000 will save you,
oh my gosh,
thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars of money and time, just knowing what to do and when and where and why and who you need on your team, and specifically who those people are. Because I make those personnel recommendations, the resource recommendations. So this wasn't meant to be a commercial about the course. However, I created what I wish I had in 2004. So this is my 20th year anniversary of publishing. Wow. So it's 20 years of publishing experience and hundreds of books, and all of the mistakes, all of the things I didn't know that I didn't know, and all the things that I did insufficiently or incorrectly. All guidance there just to help people to do it better. Yeah.
Well, it's my go-to resource for everything with the publication process, and for getting my head right about what to do and expect in the project, and it's just fantastic. So
yeah, and we get you started in the right place, because a lot of people don't recognize or connect their book to having a job within their business. So just the last thing to say is that you have to think about your book. You don't have to do anything. I suggest that you think about your book as an asset that is working hard to grow your business. And if the book does not have a clear job, then you're just writing a book and throwing it out there. And it might do fine, but it won't be the book that works for you while you're sleeping, while you're eating, while you're working, while you're vacationing. It won't be the book that people pick up and then feel compelled to hire you or buy something from you.
Right.
So you miss a huge opportunity to connect with your reader either just through the book or through the other things that you offer. So you want to make sure that you understand what the book is going to do for you and the job of the book. And all of that is in Publishing PhD, those pre-writing questions that most people don't know to answer. I start with those. That's lesson 0. So important.
It's a business asset. I mean, it's a huge investment. We're wrapping up here on time, but when you guys think about how much it costs to do a book, I mean, it's thousands of dollars to do it right. And you want to get it right. You're going to waste so much time and money doing it wrong. So,
if you want a 10x return on your investment for at least a decade, so 10x a year for a decade, so 100x return on your investment. So if that investment is about $10,000, if you want to make $100,000 for the next 10 years, which would be $1 million of return on investment for your $10,000, then you have to do it really well.
That's right.
You got to dot the I's and cross the T's. You absolutely have to. Otherwise, you're just going to put out something that is going to hurt my eyes. Don't do that.
Well, and it'll hurt their bottom line because
it'll hurt your bottom line because you're going to miss the opportunities. And I would be bummed to know that happens. I see it all the time where people just kind of phone it in. Oh, I don't feel like spending the money on it, or I don't have the money right now. And so they just put out something and it doesn't do the job. And they go, I don't know why that failed.
Yeah, it can, and it's better not to put it out in that case because it can be a poor reflection of the quality of your services, and people go, look at this book.
Stay home rather than going to the meeting dressed in your pajamas.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Just say I'm sick. I'm snowed in.
My good pajamas are in the wash.
I got to wash my hair. Right? Like something like better to not do it or not go than to go woefully unprepared. So it's the same thing with publishing your book. Make sure you do a really great job of it and be proud of it. Because my second book, I had a typo in the back cover. Someone was super excited to go, oh, there's a typo in the back cover. She was super cranky. And I was like, oh, right. And I published like so many copies of the book and had a big bonfire and had to redo it. And it's not print on demand now, where if you see a mistake, you can correct it and upload it and have new books. It was not that simple back then. And it was really just disheartening. So I'm not saying it from a place of judgment ever. I'm saying it from a place of effectiveness. It's like, it's either effective or ineffective. And if you do a book if you use half your ass to do your book, you gotta use your whole ass, everybody.
All of it.
Put it all in there, because you're going to be so glad. Like I am with You Must Write a Book. I did a great job with You Must Write a Book. It's now in its 4th edition. I've got a couple of commas in my income directly from that book and the products that have come out of that book, up to and including this mastermind, this venture, all of my courses. And so it was really worth it for me to put in the quality that needed to be put into that book. So enough lecture over. But I hope that it impacted somebody. Tony got it.
We got a new hashtag now.
Tony got it. Yep, exactly.
Thank you, Tony.
Don't half-ass it. Use your whole ass. All right. Well, on that note, everyone, have a wonderful day. And we will see you next time. Please subscribe, share, ring the bell. Go to empirebuildersmasterclass.com and check out those courses that we were talking about that are really going to save you time and money. And there's the bundle of the 3 courses: Publishing PhD, Building $1 Million Book Business, and Book Marketing Mastery, that all go together. And there's a discount when you get them all together, and there's a payment plan. So you got all kinds of ways to get it, go through it, lifetime access, live Q&As, hang out with me, hang out with Lucas.
That works.
That's priceless right there, Lucas.
I'm a little biased.
Just the comedy we provide.
Yeah. You know how much these tickets would cost? Anyone I know who's watching this is like, I wouldn't pay for him.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm out. Podcast.
I got that for free at work for 25 years.
I'm going to stay home in my pajamas. I'm not going to that show.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Honore, thank you for sharing so much with this. We appreciate you. You're a genius at what you do. Love to have you and, in our world, and sharing all these great things with us. You guys tune in for more, as she said, and we'll talk to you next week. Same bat time, same bat